Tens of thousands of protesters taking to the streets, this time in Tel Aviv, demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. And yet again, Prime Minister Netanyahu facing calls for his resignation. Some demonstrators coating their hands in red paint while laying on the floor, calling for the release of hostages held by Hamas. Almost 130 hostages remain in their custody, their condition unknown. The IDF already confirming the deaths of 34 hostages. And new today, rockets striking northern Israel. The IDF reporting several dozens were launched from Lebanon, some hitting houses and residential buildings. Firefighters working to contain the damage from the attack that injured one elderly man. This is the latest attack from Hezbollah as tensions continue to rise between the two. But first, to our top story. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is shutting down operations at Al Jazeera in Israel for 45 days. The Israeli government voting unanimously after Netanyahu called the Qatari-based news channel, quote, a Hamas mouthpiece. Qatar previously acted as the mediator during Israeli ceasefire negotiations with Hamas. Netanyahu also saying Hamas's call for a withdrawal of all troops in Gaza and an end to the war is unacceptable. NewsNation's Robert Sherman is live on the ground in Tel Aviv, Israel. Robert, today Netanyahu is holding a cabinet meeting. We've heard about progress on these hostage talks for days now. We've had previous talks that have just disintegrated. What's the latest with this deal? Is it going to come together?
Well, all of these deals are very multi-layered, Anna, is what I would say, is that you have so many moving pieces here. The exchange rate between Palestinian prisoners and Israeli hostages, the length of a pause, the ability for Gazans to move freely within the Gaza Strip. Those are all details that play into this, in which it does seem as though that there is progress. But it is the number one tenet of this deal, which is where there is a big gap between both of these sides. And that is namely that Hamas wants a deal that is going to end this war or lead it to the sunsetting of the fighting here. Israel says there's absolutely no situation in which this war ends and Hamas is still standing, has the ability to govern or threaten Israel in any capacity, meaning that even if there is a ceasefire deal or a pause, Israel remaining adamant that they will continue to pick up the war. That is the biggest gap between both of these sides that negotiators to this point have not been able to bridge. And just a short while ago, Israel's defense minister said this. Take a listen.
אנחנו מזהים סימנים מדאיגים שהחמאס למעשה לא מתכוון ללכת לשום מתווה הסכמי איתנו. המשמעות של זה פעולה ברפיח ובכל רצועת עזה בזמן הקרוב.
So what the defense minister said there is that we identify alarming signs that Hamas actually does not intend to come to any agreement with us. This means there will be military actions in Rafah and the entire Gaza Strip in the very near future, sounding the alarm and showing that the next step is quickly coming on the horizon, which would be that operation in Rafah, which the Israelis have been adamant will be coming. Despite the fact that the U.S., the U.K. have been trying to talk the Israelis out of it, they are making clear that that will be happening. Anna?
Right. So what can you tell us? I mean, their closest allies are trying to discourage a Rafah operation. Why is Israel so insistent and really digging in their heels?
Well, the big thing here, Anna, is that, of course, ever since October 7th, there have been serious national security concerns here in Israel. And what I would say is that when you talk to a lot of Israelis here, they say that they've had enough of this war. If you ask the average Israeli, they don't say that this war began October 7th. They say that it's a war that's been going on for decades that has yet to be solved. I was here a year ago in which Hamas broke a ceasefire last May. There was a ceasefire broken in 2021. And you listen to Hamas's public comments directly after October 7th. They effectively said, we do not apologize for October 7th, and we are prepared to carry it out again and again. That was an interview given with Lebanese television shortly after October 7th. Almost everyone in Israel has heard those comments to this day and points us back to that video, which circulated here all around the country. So when Israelis hear that, they say that they feel as though that there's no other choice but to continue on, going into Rafah and destroying Hamas, because their position is, if they don't do that, if they don't end this in the next couple of weeks or months with finality, that October 7th will be repeated again. That is the fear that consumes many Israelis.
Okay.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of News Nation's fact-driven coverage.